Today on AKHarrell Writes, we are talking about what newbie writers don't want to share, but should. It's a writing vlog, y'all. Stay tuned. Okay, so I just woke up. I had a terrible night last night. I'm still tired, but I am fixing my breakfast. That was LaRue, my cat. And yeah, we're going to start off with the norm, which is getting up and taking my medication. And today is injection day. Ooh, yay. Oh God, look at my hair. I'm telling y'all, yeah. Oh, whatever. And it didn't stay put as it should stay put, but I ain't gonna worry about that right now. We're just gonna put it like that and do something with it later. Of course, the lighting is crappy. I had a terrible day yesterday. We'll talk about that more later. But anyway, yeah. So let me just get to getting all my medications out. And we're going to eat. And then we are going to write. Because that's what I want to do today. And I'll talk about the writing. I'll talk about what I'm doing in this scene. Which I don't know if I really told y'all the actual story. I mean, I know I gave y'all a general type of thing, but I'm talking about like this chapter is about that and that chapter is about that. I mean, I'm not giving y'all the book now. You got to read the book, but I'll give you a general thing. So let me get myself together. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got my breakfast. And y'all see that? I got halves. I got two halves. I got one boiled egg. This one boiled egg. I got my hash brown. I got my bacon. I got a pancake. I'm going to eat this up. And then I'm going to take my shower. And then I'm going to figure out what I'm writing today. And yeah, this is part of the routine. So I don't normally get dressed for a while. I probably will figure out what I'm going to write. And then I'll probably read. I'm going to watch 2 writing authortube channels this morning. And I usually like to watch somebody else to see kind of what they're doing, to kind of give me ideas about what I want to focus on, or to know that I'm not in this alone and that everybody got problems. Because let me tell you something, yesterday was a day. Thank God. I said something to my daughter. I was just, I'll explain more about it, but it wasn't a good day yesterday. But let me eat my food. Dang. I'll be back. Okay, so I have finished my breakfast, and I like to do some little bit of research reading in the morning. I do not typically begin writing until I figure out what I'm going to be writing about. I know some people, try to leave off certain places so that they, can start up again. I do that sometimes, but this particular time, I just stopped where I needed to stop. So now I got to figure out where I'm going to next. But I'm reading Trailblazers by Dorothy Gilliam. I think I told y'all this before. And I am looking at her life as a journalist, and my character is within the newspaper world. And so I wanted to get a real feel of, kind of how it was for Black newspaper people, in her time. And so that's why I'm reading this. And I'll have to pet LaRue. LaRue turned 4 years old yesterday, y'all. December 13th. That was his birthday. He is 4. That means he is like 28. And people, years. And so I'll pet him for a little while. I gave him some catnip yesterday. He was very excited about it. He loves his little catnip. Okay. But sometimes, I have to watch it because he'll, cry and cry when he thinks he's supposed to get catnip every day. And yeah, we ain't trying to have no addicted cats around here. Right. So let me go ahead and do that. Let me get my shower. Let me put on something, t-shirt, something. Okay, something better than this. And then we'll get started. Be right back. Okay, so I'm really more of a private type of person, but I feel like I needed to just say some things because it, kind of affected my writing in the channel. And that is the simple fact that I was doing some research. I was reading this book and I just felt an overwhelming sense of sorrow and sadness and couldn't figure out why. And I mean, the week hadn't been going well anyway. Okay. I had gotten sick. I had to pay an exorbitant amount for some medication that I was not expecting. I was trying to do a Uber rental thing and somebody rented the dang on car for the days I needed to rent it for. It was just a mess. Okay. Some of the things in the writing wasn't, coming out like I wanted it to come out. It was just a bad week. I couldn't do my vlogging thing. Like I just could not get it together. Right. Could not get it together. And then I said, you know what? Sometimes you just gonna have a bad week. It is what it is. And I'm not going to punish myself for having a week that just did not turn out right. Maybe it wasn't supposed to turn out right for a reason. Maybe I was supposed to take my time and learn some things I didn't know, which actually happened. But for those of y'all who don't know me, I am Angela. This is AKHarrell Writes. And I don't normally have a, BIT, whatever session. Okay, I don't, because I try to keep things positive around here. But in being positive, sometimes you got to talk about the things that went wrong and how things started to go right, because that's positivity too, right? Just like a character, everything don't go right for them. If everything does go right for them, why are you writing a story? People not learning a darn thing from that. But so my story is I had a effed up week, and that's just what it is. And we're just gonna pray things get better, which I know they will. Because what goes up must come down. What goes down must come up. Eventually. Moving on. Okay, so we are back. I have taken my shower. I have conditioned my hair. I have eaten my food. I have petted LaRue. I have put my dishes in the dishwasher. Okay. All of that rigmarole. Anywho. So, and I finished reading some more of the book, just to get a feel of things. So what I wanted to talk today about are probably some of the struggles that I've been having writing this here book. I did not know when I started this process how difficult it was going to be. At least it's difficult for me. May not be difficult for you, but it's difficult for me. And I think it's because I'm learning how to put different pieces and parts together. When I started the process, I was just, blankly writing, right? Had that dream. Y'all can go back in videos and look at how I came about this. Had that dream, started writing, what I saw, what I felt, who I thought this person was, the main character, which was a character named Oswa, and she is living in the 1870s. She was in the West. And so I started writing about her, started researching, all of that. And all of a sudden, I couldn't write anything else. I didn't know what else to write. It felt like something was missing, right? And so I took a couple weeks off. I, read some other stuff, and something came up to me, and I said, oh my goodness, I think she wants to do something where she gives information. I'm not sure if it's a warning yet. I'm not sure if it's information for success. I think it's information for success, but I got to flesh that out. And she wanted to do this for a descendant. And for the longest time, I, looked at different things. I started to do her family tree. And somebody popped up that I said, oh, I think this is the person. And so this other young lady is born or living in 100 years from when Oswald lives. Her name is Betty Jean, but she will change her name eventually, as you will see. And there's a reason for that. And so I started doing some research and stuff on her time, her era. And I just had, trying to put the story together, because now it's a dual timeline, has been rather difficult. I was having issues as to where to mesh the stories together. And so what I decided to do was to just write each story individually. And at some point, I would figure out where to intertwine them. Now, I think from what I was looking at, or for what I've researched from a lot of writing books, you should probably try to get those stories merged as quickly as possible. That's the issue I'm having. Trying to get them merged as quickly as possible. And so I've looked at different story structures. I looked at Save the Cat. I looked at the 3-act structure. And I think the one that I have decided to do is called the Snowflake method. The reason why I decided to do that one is because I've read a few things that say that it's more conducive for people who are writing historical fiction, which is what this is. This is a historical literary fiction. Some people may think it's women's fiction. I'm not sure. Where can I figure out where to mesh these stories together? And so I think I found a way. I think I'm going to mesh it together through an object. And I think the object is going to be a newspaper article. And so, because both of the stories line up with talking about the impact of Black newspapers within Oswald's time and within Betty Jean's time as well. And so I think the best thing for me to do is to bring in a newspaper article. I think that I'm going to have Oswald have done the newspaper article, and for Betty Jean to have found the newspaper article. So I think that's where we're going to mesh the storylines together. And anyway, that was, struggle number one, just trying to get the actual structure of the story down. Now, I also do like the Snowflake method because I am a reformed pantser. I am a quote unquote discovery writer. And that has served me well in some aspects and not served me well in other aspects. Okay, so I just want to do like a brief overview of kind of what the stories were about. The first story in the dual timeline is a story based in the late 1870s. And it involves a young woman. This is not a whole story, but this is probably more of a tagline. So an antagonist in here that I don't think many would probably think of. And so I'm very excited about that. I'm excited for her adventures. There will probably be a subplot in here. And this story has quite a few surprising characters. And so, yeah, I'm loving that story. The second one, which will eventually tie into the first one, because this story is based on what I wanted to get out about how effective and how needed Black newspapers were and have been since they came into existence. And so, yeah, that's the thread that's going to intertwine these stories, is the Black newspaper. The second story, that's an exciting one. That has a whole cast of characters and some things that I don't believe Betty Jean thought she would ever be able to do, or even want to do. And so that's been very exciting. Both stories have a lot of historical events in them. We meet a few historical famous characters, and yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for both parts of the book. So again, as I was saying, it's not so much about the story. Like, I actually know the ending to both pieces, and maybe I'm just one of those kind of people that, you know, starts from the end and goes backwards. I don't know. That's how it's coming out. Okay. Again, I think getting from point A to the end is not so much where I'm having difficulty, but I think I'm having difficulty putting it into the structure that I believe that a lot of editors or people would recognize and understand. Because yes, I would like to be traditionally published, but not just that. I want my readers who are probably used to a certain structure or way of doing things in this particular genre. I don't want them to be put off, or especially with this being my first book, to not understand, where I'm going or how I'm trying to do it. I personally think that, it's great to be experimental, but I do believe that when you're first trying something, you might want to try to do the tried and true method. So that people are not thrown off track a little bit. That doesn't mean that you can't put some surprises, some spins, some stuff like that, but you got to understand the basic foundation. And for me, that has been difficult to understand. And maybe it's because my mind is, way over here. And I had to say, hey, listen, lady, you got to look at the basic foundation first. Yeah, you're way over here, but look at the basic foundation. And then once all of that is very clear to you, very clear, then you can move on to your little stuff. And so that is what I have been doing. Like I stated, it took me a while to try to figure out which writing method I wanted to try. I do believe the Snowflake method is very good for me. I feel like it's what I'm looking for in my writing. And so, yeah, we're gonna do the Snowflake method. And if I need to, fiddle around and change the recipe up a little bit, then I'll do that. But for right now, that's what we're going with. As far as doing my chapters, I have to do the chapters by scenes. And now what I'm doing is I am plotting out the chapter. I have not plotted out the whole book because I'm a discovery writer. And so I haven't plotted out the whole book. I've found that when I've tried to do that, I can only get so far. I actually have to sit down and write out what I've already plotted to even get a spark of a clue as to where to go next. And I always do get a spark of a clue as to where to go next, but I have to write. And so that's what I have been doing. I have to write, I have to research. Usually the research will give me a great spark. So I applaud doing research. You just have to not, get yourself all put in the weeds and the tangles and stuff. Let me know what difficulties you guys have, and maybe we can bounce off each other. I have no difficulty with dialogue. I feel like I'm very, very good with that. Not just from my opinion, but from others' opinions that have also read my work. They all say, you really put conversations together that are, real and that type of thing. I think I'm also very, very good at setting descriptions. You would think that doing a historical fiction, the world is already built for you, but which world, because I've read many historical fiction books and they don't show the world that I'm writing about. Okay, not all of them. They don't show it. And so, just doing some world building for historical fiction, that has been a treat and a joy. I think I'm very good at that. I think that many of my travels to different historical settings has really helped in envisioning what the world should be looking like, authentic world should be looking like. And so just the research itself in general has helped with not only the dialogue, with the settings, basic world building, all of that. And so I have some strengths, I have some weaknesses, okay? But we're going to put it together and we're going to try to make us a nice little cake out of here, okay? That's what we're going to try to do. I normally will try to get in, a scene. I'm not going to say a whole chapter, but I would normally try to get in, a scene or two every other day. I don't really have a word count. I think I've said that before. I've let go of the quote unquote word count, counter thing, and pretty much have said I want to get, this chapter done by the end of this week, or I want to get these couple of scenes done. To me, that's less restrictive, and therefore I tend to write more. Psychological. Hey, it is what it is. However you get it done, right? And so that's that. But yeah, let me know in the comments, what struggles you guys have, where your strengths, where your weaknesses are, and maybe we can help each other. But for now, that is it. Happy writing, happy reading. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.